Hello everyone, welcome to Freeplay. My name is Dan. I'm not ready to reveal myself to the G4 Republic yet, though if you've seen NetSurf over the past few years, you probably already know how I look. TouchMaster, am I right? TouchMaster is probably one of my first favorite DS titles, and what got me into DS collecting as a whole. It's a bunch of fun little arcade games, and nothing more, nothing less, aside from a minor spin-off title that didn't go anywhere. Though, I'll tell you this much. If anyone proclaims himself to be the TouchMaster, 9 times out of 10, they're probably a molester trying to deceive you. Don't ask how I know this information. TouchMaster came out in 2007 for the Nintendo DS, and for the 23 games it has, for the most part it's just card games. But for the puzzle games, the action games, and whatnot, for all those games you get, I think it's a pretty good deal. You got your average puzzle games like Gem Slide, Maki, and Crystal Balls, but when you see me playing a game on this thing, you're definitely going to be seeing me playing Maki. They also have plenty of action games like Artifact and also Hot Hoops. You may have noticed that a bunch of the games on TouchMaster for the DS are built with one mindset to get a high score. And that's solely because most of these games were actually ports from a real arcade machine.
I maneuver the whip like it's a mobile suit. Never moved a brick, but the TSA thought I sold a few. First class flights when I trip, I sit close to cruise. Fuck the 9 to 5, I quit. I gotta throw the deuce. Tell the ops to suck my dick and lick the scrotum too. The flow got them all sick, it's not the cold or flu. Keep the ride fully equipped, I got the motor tuned. 3 times fast when I dip, that's what I'm supposed to do.
I think we're live. No, you're
TouchMaster actually did come out first with its arcade predecessor in 1996. And while yes, there are earlier versions of TouchMaster, the one I'm talking about in specifics is TouchMaster 8000, which came out in 1996. And immediately, right away, you could tell the one-on-one differences between the arcade predecessor and the DS port. Alongside that, the DS version has some new sounds, because the arcade sounds are, well, a little erotic. Safe to say, most of these arcade cabinets for TouchMaster and another cabinet that we'll talk about later on in this episode had erotic sexual games. Those of which that I can't show on YouTube, but maybe on Patreon if I grow a pair and make a G4 Ever Patreon. Right now, I'm on the fence of either wanting to fund this project and also help make a few extra bucks while searching for a job, and also trying to make sure NBC Universal doesn't rail me 5 ways to Sunday. But both DS and arcade port aside, you could tell that there was a lot of love put into this. And the sequel is, well, it's a sign of the times. Allow me to explain. TouchMaster 2 would come out just a year later on the Nintendo DS in 2008, and while yes, you still got your same games like Maki and whatnot, you also got some new games like bowling. Ah yes, the one thing you can do in real life for just a few bucks. For just a few bucks permanently on your DS. It's the prime definition of I don't want to touch grass, and I sure as hell don't want to roll a ball on some wood. Sick of that sounds dirty. You could tell that when they were making this game, that both Phoenix Soft and Midway were scrambling for something to put on the game. Gone were the days of the arcade-style gameplay, and now come the days of trophy hunting, and it just felt more basic. Not to mention the music finally shows up in this game, but it's depressing as hell. But then again, at the same time, Midway Games is in the middle of something big. An acquisition between everyone's most hated company. Look away, children, you might piss yourself. Ouch. Yeah, right around 2009, Warner Brothers decided to buy up Midway Games, and in typical Warner Brothers fashion, throw everything they had worked for in the bin. It's no surprise when Warner Brothers decides to do something that we all expect would happen coming from Warner Brothers. I mean, they're the sign of the devil in most communities. TouchMaster 3 would come out in 2009 for the Nintendo DS, and gone were the days of Midway Games and Phoenix Soft, and instead, WB Games and Hijinks Games. Of course, you get subtitles from TouchMaster 2, but for the most part, it was all new games, and it didn't feel like TouchMaster anymore. Instead, it felt like just games that utilized the touchscreen and were half-assed just to make a quick buck. Of course, you still had your good games. There were some good ones there, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them just felt basic, and it felt like they skinned the arcade-like style of the original TouchMaster and even its successor, TouchMaster 2. There's nothing really to write home about with this game aside from its mid-tier. However, their last game was certainly a good way to go out. TouchMaster Connect was the final entry in the TouchMaster series, coming out in 2010 for the Nintendo DS. And like the first game, it actually did come from a series of arcade cabinets, labeled Mega Touch Game Time. A device apparently so rare that I could not research it. Very little information is known about these devices other than they were the same situation as TouchMaster, except that in the case of Merit, they managed to get these devices everywhere. Even in some cases, McDonald's Play places, where I remember Merit was. Believe it or not, this was my first experience into Mega Touch Game Time and TouchMaster as a whole. You get your basic collection of games. If anything, it feels like a refresh of the original. You got your card games, your action games, your puzzle thinking games, and some bonus games here and there. But they also included a new feature, the ability to post on Twitter and Facebook. Because PictoChat wasn't enough of a place where you get told to kill yourself. And the thing was kind of useless as well. Like, you needed to pair it to a computer, and even then, you needed Nintendo Wi-Fi. And about 4 years after this game came out, yeah, it just was not this game's day. But Wi-Fi issues aside, the game is still pretty fun, and I see myself playing it a lot more than I'd like to show off. It's just a fun little series of games I could just pick up, play, and have a few hours to myself. It's fun, it really tickles the brain when it comes to puzzles and whatnot. It's a good series. I would love to see Warner Brothers try and remaster the game, but given Warner Brothers' recent track record of video games just tanking and sucking, and also at the end of the day costing us Adult Swim games as a result, yeah, safe to say I don't want them touching any video games until management changes.
So that was TouchMaster, a franchise for the Nintendo DS that had a good long run, but had some struggles every now and again, solely because of the trading of hands between Midway and Warner Brothers. I personally want to give this game a 7.5 out of 10, but my brain's wanting to turn it into an 8 out of 10 solely because of the nostalgia factor. So I'm just going to give it an 8 out of 10 because this is nostalgic to me. My name is Dan, this has been Freeplay. Thank you all so much for watching the episode. Thank you to the G400 Plus subscribers that helped fund this episode. Because, well, in case you haven't noticed, I made a Patreon during the production of this episode because I want to fund this project and make it possible, and perhaps even make it a job someday. As always, this has been Freeplay. My name is Dan. Next episode's already been set up. And to give you a little bit of a sneak peek, you ever wonder how video games have their own identity crisis? Yeah, me neither.
Want early access and your name in the credits? Join G400 Plus on Patreon for just $5 a month at tinyurl.com/G400 Plus. Thank you.